Hello everybody and welcome to another tutorial. In this tutorial we are going to learn how to build a Slack bot using Python. So you might know what a bot is. This is a popular common word these days, but for you that you don't know what it is, in case of Slack, a bot is a type of program that automates user interaction and can interact with you and can understand the message that you send to a given channel and just listen to that and give a response if you want to. So that's basically it, what a bot is. You can program it to do whatever you want, and bots in this case on Slack API will be programmed in this case in Python. So that's basically what we are going to do. We are going to build a bot, a simple bot. It will be listening to a given channel, for example, general channel on Slack, and it will parse the message and it will figure it out if you want to flip a coin or not. So imagine you type a message, flip a coin, it will parse that message, see that you want to flip a coin, and then it will make a random, and after that, accordingly with the random that was generated, it will return heads or tails in another message, so you will be able to interact with the bot like that. There are 2 or 3 libraries that we are going to use to make it easy to communicate with Slack API. Let's start with Slack client. So the Slack API and Slack bot API and flow, the Slack flow for creating a bot is fairly simple. If you want to send a message to a given channel, you use this Python Slack client. You can use it to send messages, for example, and we will use this to send the message about if it's heads or tails. But we need to listen to a given channel and parse all the messages that come from that channel. And if it's a message like saying flip a coin, you have to parse that message and flip a coin and generate the random number and then send the message back to Slack. So that's where the Slack Events API comes in. So for every message for a given channel, there is an API called Slack Event API. Okay. And what it does, and it is listening to every message in a given channel or multiple channels as you configure, and it will call an endpoint on your Python bot in this case, and that's where you apply the logic for that message if you want to flip a coin or not. So that's basically it. You can build the Slack bot without this Slack Event API. You just need to generate a new endpoint, but this will facilitate to generate a new, and you just need to generate a new method and an event adapter to, in this case, it will be on message, and you receive every message here and be able to parse it and flip a coin and then send a message back using Slack client to Slack itself. Awesome. So then you just need Flask to, if you don't know, Flask is a lightweight web application or framework that we are going to use, and it's fairly simple. We just need to expose our endpoint, and Flask is capable of that, so we will use Flask for that. So that's basically it. In the next session, we are going to configure the app on Slack UI, because you need to configure the app on Slack UI to get your credentials and to get your app created, so you are able to then use the credentials that the OAuth credentials that were generated there and use them in your Python bot. So yeah, that's basically it. We will have 4 sessions there. So this is the first one, just to give a little introduction, and so next session we will configure the app on Slack UI. I just want to say that this is free. Slack basic capabilities are free, so you can totally do this while you are watching this. So see you in session 2. Hello and welcome everyone to the session 2 of the Slack bot tutorial. So in the session 1 we give a little presentation about what a bot is and how useful it can be. Now, as you might see, we are on Slack API and we are going to configure the bot on Slack API. And let's get started with it, okay? So Slack API works with apps. So your bot will be an app inside the Slack API, okay? So I've already created an app, but let's forget this app. Let's create another one so you can see how it works, okay? So you go and create a new app from scratch. So let's give our app a name. It will be Flip Coin Bot, okay? And I want this in my own account. So if you don't have a Slack account, you might need to create one so that you can open Slack chat and be able to see your app. So I'm going to register in my own workspace. So let's tap create app, or click in this case, and it will appear something like this. Let me give a little zoom so you can see better. Okay, so now we need, there are lots of settings here, but first of all, we need to give permissions to our bot to read messages from a Slack channel, okay? Why? Because we will have a message. It will be like flip a coin, and it will be read by the Slack bot, and it will trigger an event so that we need to read the messages from chat. So you can do this on basic information, permissions, okay? And now if you go down, you have a scope. So if you don't know what scopes are, basically this is on OAuth 2 standard, and it gives you some kind of capabilities to do some kind of thing. So you can control what your bot can do. If you don't need your bot to, I don't know, to read messages, you just don't give it their permission or that scope. So let's add the auth scope that we need, right? Which is to write messages to the chat, okay? So add auth scope, and the scope is called chat column write. So see, send messages as Flipcoin bot. You also have many options there. You can give it to read messages, to manage channels, to join, to check history. This might be useful for another cases, but for our own, we don't need those. So we just give chat write. You can explore more of this if you want. Okay, awesome. So now we need to add our bot and finish this configuration, add it to workspace. So we can click here. So these OAuth tokens will be automatically generated when you finish connecting the app to your workspace. you use these tokens to authenticate your app. You will see the tokens when I click here. So install, and now you have this OAuth pop-up, perform actions in channels and conversations, and send messages. So that's the permission that we gave, and we click allow. Awesome. Now we have a token. This token, as OAuth works, has the scope chat write. So we have, our bot has permissions to write to a given channel. Okay. So we installed the app on our workspace. So now we can go back to Slack. Okay. And we see that Flipcoin bot appears here. You can also, in basic information, update the bot name if you want, I believe. See, you can add a short description, you can add a background. So let's make it blue, for example, and add a description. This will flip a coin randomly. Awesome. Save changes. It should appear immediately on our Slack. If we go to about, it should be here. So let's go. Now we need to add this bot or this app to a given channel. So I created a new channel here called Education Ecosystem, but let's create another one so you can see. So it will be Flip Coin channel. So you can assign your bot to a given channel, and it will be always listening for that channel from the event that we are going to create. So we gave the bot the permission to write the channel, remember? And that will write the outcome of the flip coin, heads or tails. But then we will configure a subscription, and that subscription will call an endpoint in our Python app that we haven't created yet. And that subscription will write every message on a given channel. So we need to process that message and then write the outcome. If we want to write anything, if we see that the message doesn't match the message that we want, we just don't do anything. So create this. I don't want to add people right now. And then you go to your flip coin, right click, and you have open app details, and then add this app to a channel, okay? And then you select your own channel that you want. Done. So when you go to flip a coin channel, you'll see that actually you don't see here, but the bot was added. As it was added in general, I have the other one. See? So so you already added this to the channel, so everything looks fine. So this session is already done. So what we are going to do next session is to start coding. That's what we want, right? So in the next session we will start. We'll create the Python app using the libraries Slack Client, Slack Events API, and Flask. And we also will speak how to communicate with Slack API using HTTP protocol. And in the end, we will test a message, and we will send a test message using the token from the Slack bot. So in the end, we will have a message written to a given channel. In session 4, we will have configured the events API, and then we will be able to read from a given channel. That's it. And we already have implemented the write to a channel, so it will be pretty straightforward. If you want, you can start and go ahead and install Slack Client, Slack Events API, and Flask. And we will be using Python 3 So you can go ahead, and if you don't have it, just install it. And for session 2, everything is ready. So see you in session 3. Bye bye. Hello everyone, and welcome to session 3 of our Slack bot with Python tutorial. So in this session we will set up the environment in your local machine, and after that we will explore a little bit of the Slack API, see how we can form a message. In this case we are using JSON and HTTP, and we'll write the logic in Python and just send a test message to a given channel and see if it works. And after that, the session 3 is done, is complete. So let's start with it. So you will need 3 libraries, as I said in previous sessions. So you'll need the Slack client to communicate with Slack using HTTP. You'll also need Slack Events API. However, it won't be used in this session. This will be for events, which will be covered in the last session, session 4. And you will need also Flask, but it will also be only used in session 4. So for now, we need to install this Slack client. And that's it. So I'll be using Python 3. You should be using Python 3 as well to not have compatibility problems. So if you want, you can install, if you are in Ubuntu, you can install using apt-get. If you are on Windows, you can download executable, and if you are on Mac, you can install using Brew, for example. So we need, you already know how to install Python, so no, I don't need to tell you how to do it. So let's go to set up a virtual environment. Let me create a new folder. So let's create a new folder called flipcoinbot. Okay. And now it's also always good to create a virtual environment when using Python. It allows you to install dependencies only on this virtual environment that we are going to create, and it will avoid that dependencies get some kind of they conflict with each other. So imagine that you are using a given project with a dependency version 1.0, and then there is another project that uses 1.3, and they don't have compatibility versions, and you have both installed. What do you think will happen? Maybe it will import the wrong version and your project won't work. So use always virtual environments if you can, and I totally recommend doing it. It's really easy to install as well. So to create a new virtual environment, you just type this virtual environment and your virtual environment name. Let's call it the same thing. So Python will do its thing, and it's already done. Yeah, it's here. So now we need to activate the virtual environment. So you can call source virtual environment bin source, and then virtual environment bin activate. So we are now inside the virtual environment, okay? And now we can install packages as we were installing in a global environment. So as I said, we need to install our Slack client. So pip, in this case, I don't know if my is version 3. If you are not, it's pointing to Python 3, so it's okay. So pip install, and we will going to install the Slack client, which we already needed. So yeah, it's on loading, version 2.9.3, okay, and it's on. Okay, good. Now, now we might need to explore how to communicate with Slack, okay? So you can see this reference, and this is how to format text when communicating with Slack API. And they have an example here. Let me see if I find it on how to format with a JSON. Maybe it's not here. So we can format messages, of course, using their API, and they use JSON, as I said. So there are a few examples here. The main basic one, it's just to call this to choose your channel, and then to choose your message text. You can use a JSON. You need to use a JSON. And this is, of course, HTTP. I don't know, in Python they use they use HTTP, but we are using a client, so we can abstract about this. But this is basically what we want. We want to format a message, so we can do this way. Our message will be a little more complicated, but not a lot. And I'll show you how to do it. So let's go ahead and create a new file. And this file, we can call it whatever we want, of course. Let's call it flipcoinbot.python. So touch flipcoin bot without flipcoinbot.py. Good enough, right? Okay. So I just misspelled this. Flipcoinbot.py. Awesome. So I will use Visual Studio Code. You can use whatever you want. So let's go. All right. So we are on our IDE. Let me zoom in so you can see really well what we are doing. Okay, maybe one more. Okay, great. And now we have our file, and we can create our class, which is flipcoin bot. Yeah. And we can start by defining our message structure, which will be really simple. So coin block, you can call it that, right? And then it will be a JSON. So it needs a type, and we will use a type. There are several types that we can use, and you can explore that in Slack API. Let's use a section. So we'll write a section of text, and then we just need to say whatever text we are sending. So now the text also has a type, and we can define it. And then we will define a type of markdown. This means that we can use special characters like to encode like HTML, you know. Markdown. And now we define our text itself, and our text will be like this, okay? And that's it. So this will be the text, the text message that we will have. So sure, flipping a coin, and then we can do, this is markup, so we can do like something like this to have extra lines. Okay. Awesome. Now we have our coin block. Now we can define our constructor. So who is not familiar with Python is something like this. Otherwise, we just need to pass here as well the channel. We are going to receive the channel, and then we need a real function, and self.channel is equal to channel. Awesome. No need semicolon. So now we will define a function that will make the flip coin. Okay. So define flip coin self, and this function will decide if the flip coin is heads or tails. As simple as that. So we can achieve that with a random number. For that we need to import it. So you can import random. Awesome. And now we can use this random to generate a new random. So it can be heads or it can be tails. So we just need to a random that might be 0 or 1. It's enough. So rand int is equal to random dot rand int, and now you define the range between 0 and 1, and that's it. So we can see that if rand int is equal to 0, maybe the results are tails or heads. So let's make it heads, and if not, the results will be tails. Awesome. And now we will return another message. This will be the starting message. So okay, flipping a coin, and now we need to tell the result. So we need another structure similar to this. So let's copy and paste this, and just say, okay, now before that we need a text to add. So we can format text like this and say the result is, and then we can use the variable results. Okay, so we are using this variable that with the result. Awesome. Results. Okay, this is giving an error. It's not defined. Of course, it's not defined. It should be. Let's ignore this error for now. So now we have this block. Okay, so we can return, and we can return something with type section. Okay. Oh, I know why this is not defined. I was not in the right scope. So we are returning a new section with a markdown, with exactly a markdown. And the text will be our text, right? So that's it. Great. And our function is done, right? And now we will create another function called getMessagePayload. Okay. Which will receive the self again, and we'll return the full message. So a message has a channel, and we will use the channel that we defined in our constructor. And then we need we can pass, as you might see here, we are passing a channel and a text, but we can pass several blocks. So we have one block here, and we have another one here, right? So we can say, okay, I want to show these two blocks, and this is a list, of course, and the list will contain the self.coin block, which will be this message, sure, flipping a coin, and then we'll have we'll need to call the function, so self dot, and now we'll need to call this function saying, okay, flip the coin and tell me the result, and we'll have two messages to send, or two blocks with two text messages there. And that's it. So this is done. Flip coin is done. Okay. But now we need to test it, right? So to test it with now, if you see, we didn't use the Slack client, but we will use in the next file. Let's create a new file. It will be called flipcoin test.python. Fair enough. And now we will need to use the Slack client. So from Slack import web client. Okay. And we need to import also our new file that we created. So from flipcoinbot import flipcoinbot. So we are importing this class, of course. Awesome. Now, we need to first, let's create Slack client. We need to get a flipcoin bot instance, right? Then we need to call this method, generate message payload, which will call this one, right? So we need to call the get message payload, and then we need to send message to Slack. Seems simple, right? So let's create the Slack web client. So for that we need the token that we generated in previous session. Let's see where it is. So if you are doing this, you need to go to here, API, basic information. And now you can go here and add features and functionality, permissions. And this is your bot token, okay? Let's copy it. You can create environment variables. You can put it inside code. You do whatever you want. I will create here for simplicity. If this is a production grade application, maybe you shouldn't do this. Okay, token is here. Now let's create Slack web client. Easy. So let's give it a name, Slack web client, which will be web client, and it will receive a token. Token equals token. So Slack web client created. Now get the flipcoin bot instance. So flipcoin bot will be our flipcoin bot, and remember we need to pass the channel. Let's see the channel that we just created. So let's go. It's flip-coin / channel. Let me see if I can copy. Yes, I can copy the name. So done. Don't forget the, I don't know if it's mandatory, this hashtag, but it might be. Now, message, and our message will be our flipcoin bot dot get message payload. Simple, because our get message payload will call our flipcoin and will bring this message, and we'll also get our coin block, which will be static message. Awesome. Now we just need to send Slack message. So Slack web client dot, we have several methods there, chat, see, delete message, but we don't have permission for those, so we'll just use the post message. Remember that. And now we just pass our message, and we are done. We are done. I think it's clear for you what is happening right now. So now we need to test it, right? So we just need to execute. We just need to execute this, and the message should appear in this channel, right? Also, actually, it should appear two messages. The first one, which is the sure flipping a coin, and then another one with a text saying if it's heads or tails. Simple, right? I already tested before, but you'll see a live message appearing here, hopefully. So flip coin. Yes. Sure, flipping a coin. The results is heads. Sure, flipping a coin. Tails. Okay. Seems random enough. Yeah, it's working, right? Okay, let's conclude this session. So we were able to communicate with Slack API. We can format messages, and we are deciding what's the result of the flipping coin based on a random function. Then we created a test file with the token from Slack API. You can find that token over here. OAuth and permissions, and have it here. It will have those scopes. So chat write, we are writing a message, so we have permissions for that. And then we just create an instance of the object, we generate the message, and we post the message. That's it. Easy. So session 3 is done. Session 4 we will create with Flask a web server, deploy this to a public server with the push the subscriptions of Slack API, so we can parse message and read messages from a given channel. And that's basically it. So stick around for session 4. Hope you enjoyed session 3. Goodbye. Hello everyone, and welcome to session 4 and last session. So in this session we wrap up, we create the Python bot and implementing it, and now we are just creating a new Flask endpoint and a new endpoint event adapter for Slack to communicate with us, and we will need to deploy it to a public IP facing server. We already created one so that Slack API can contact our server. And let's go back to our code and see what we need to do. So we have our code here, and now we need to create another file to have the Flask app. Before that, we need to install two things. We already installed Slack client, and we need to install Slack Events API. So let's go ahead and install our Slack Events API. And now we need to install Flask as well. Let's install Flask, all in our virtual environment. That's it. And now if just to check what we have installed, we can run this, and Slack Events API, Slack client, and our Flask. Other are just Python packages, don't worry about them. It's useful to create a requirements.txt so that you write your dependencies and their versions on that file. And when you deploy to the server, you just need to run pip or pip-r install requirements.txt, and it will download automatically all your dependencies. Awesome. So let's create that file. And let's type our versions that we see here. Okay. So let's create a new file called requirements.txt. Awesome. And we have Slack client, and we do it with 2 equals, and I'll skip to check the version later. Slack events API, and we have Flask. So Flask version is 202. Slack events API, it's Slack client is 293, and events API is 3.0.0. So we're done here. We created this file. Now let's create another file, which will be our app. So app.python. Easy. And this is where we use everything we need and the Flask. So first of all, we might need to import something, but let's create our app, which from that we need to import from Flask, import Flask. Easy. And we also need other things, but let's import in that one by one. So we need to import the Flipcoin bot, import Flipcoin bot, and we need also to the Slack events API, import Slack events adapter. Awesome. So let's create our Flask app. You have really good tutorials about this, so I'm not going to be very verbose here. And now we just need a constructor for our Slack event adapter. So Slack event adapter will be equal to Slack event adapter. And I don't have all the arguments here, but we need something that is a token. It's another token. It's not the token that we had before. We also need that, but we need a token to basically is a signing secret, so that we can verify that it's Slack that is sending us stuff and not other service. Okay, and we'll register our endpoint as Slack/events, which is the default endpoint that Slack will call, and we can pass our app. And now we need just the Slack web client that we created, which is in this test. So we might save it here, and I can save also this token here. So let's create token here. So web client token. Awesome. And we have our web client. Great. And now we will need something important. We need the endpoint to parse all the messages that are received from a given channel, or yes, from a given channel, and just parse those messages and see their content and see if we need to flip a coin or not. Okay, so let's first Slack. It's a annotation that allows us to say to make this event on message to be tied up to this message that I'm going to create. So you're going to see now message. Okay, so every time we receive a message on Slack, this method will be called with a given payload. Okay, and this payload, we can get things from this payload. So payload dot get, and we can get the event, and we don't need to pass more arguments. And in this event, we can get the text of the message. So event dot get text. If you want, you can explore a little bit more, and also we can print if you want the text that we received. And now we just need to see, okay, if for example flip coin is equal or is inside the text dot lower, okay, what do we want to do? First of all, we need to get channel. So channel ID is equal to event dot get. The same way that we get the text, we can get the channel. This is all documented on Slack API. we need to send message, right, with the outcome. For that, we can create an auxiliary method, which will be flip the coin, yeah, and it will receive a channel. Great, awesome. So now we can create an instance of all our flip coin bot. So flip coin bot, which will be, we can call our constructor flip coin bot of the channel. Awesome. Now we can get the message. Remember the method that we create, flip coin bot dot get message payload, and then we can just write this message, right? So Slack, like we did here on tests, it's the same thing. We can use it. Actually, everything is from here. Just the channel comes from the event and not and is not constant. And that's it. Okay. Here misspelling. I don't need this. Okay. Web client is not defined. Yes, you're right. You're right. From Slack import web client. Now it is mate. It's the same as we have here. Okay, awesome. Okay, so we have almost everything we need. We need to call the method here, flip coin with channel, and that's it, with channel ID. And that's it. If the message doesn't match flip coin, it doesn't do anything. I'm just going to set up here, this is just a code that is, it's not that important, but we are just configuring loggers, and we are opening the port 3000 localhost. We also need to import OS and import logging. Okay, everything is where we need to be. Now we need to configure our Slack API, which is here, and we need to allow for events to happen. So for you to do that, you need to go to your event subscriptions. Let me put this bigger. Okay. And click enable events. Okay. And then you just need to paste your server IP / events. That is the endpoint that you have just created here. So my server IP is, no, this won't work right now because it will try to call your endpoint and see if it responds. So we need to deploy it to our server. But before that, if we come to basic information, we need this signing secret. This signing secret, Slack signs the request we send using this secret. Confirm that each request comes from Slack by verifying its unique signature. Okay, so we need this token. This is the other token that we were talking about. So if we go to our code, we can create subscriptions token, which will be this token. And we actually can use this token here, and it's already set. So guys, for this session to not take that long, I'm gonna end this session now, and the last session will be just deploy all this code to the server, and so we can set up this events API, this event subscription, and we can see if it actually works or not. Okay, so Uh, there will be a session 5 right away, and we will just deploy the code, and that's it. And you will see it working. At least I hope that. So stick around for session 5 and see you there. Okay, everyone, welcome to another tutorial. This is session 5 of creating a Slack bot with Python. So we are creating a flip a coin. You already know that. So in this session, we are going just to deploy this app to the server, make it public, and call it, make it callable from event subscriptions API on Slack. Awesome. So if you are following this, we already have our code, and we already have the tokens there. Everything seems to be working. So now we need to expose this. So we need to copy our files to our server, which should be pretty simple, right? So I've already connected to my server, and I'm at home, a home folder. And I can, there is a command, I don't know if you know it, but there is a command called scp. It copies files through SSH, so you can call it scp, right? And give your, what do you want to copy? So desktop flip coin bot, okay? And we want to copy to root at, and our server IP, here it is. And so we want to copy to our home, so /home, and I think that's it, right? Oh, Conobyte is yeah, it's a directory. I want to copy a directory. Oh, okay. Okay, everything was copied. So everything is back in here. Let's see now. Awesome. It's installing everything. Done. So now we can run our app with Python 3 app.py. Let's see if it boots up, and it's already running. Great. Now you can come here, enable events API, copy this. It will be it will be /Slack events API, and you see it's already verified. Why? It called, we are receiving calls from Slack to verify. We already have this configured, so Slack can communicate with our server. And that's it. So now we need to give some permissions to our bot events. So we need to have subscribe to bot events. And now you need to click add bot event, user event, and you need to give permission to read channels. So message dot channels. So this is to read messages that are posted to a channel, to a given channel. That's it. Save changes. Okay. So now we need to change permission. So we need to reinstall the app. So yeah, just go for it. Okay. View channels and perform actions into conversations and channels. Okay, awesome. Now, if we type something to the chat, what? Hey, you see the message appear here because we are printing the message. That's why. So, but it didn't do anything. Let's now try to trigger our action, the flip the coin. Let's go. Let's see if it works. Yes, sure, flipping a coin, heads. Again. now flip coin. It should work. Heads. It's always heads. Tails. And if you do hello flip coin, it will also work because we are using contains. Heads. Okay, so we done our bot. It's really simple. What we can do, and to set up a bot is really easy. You now know how to set up your bot, and the code is not that hard to understand. The only thing is that you need to have your server exposed to the internet, nothing more than that. As well, this is a really simple case for creating a bot. It just flips a coin, but you can also do complex stuff like call external APIs, parse every message from a given channel and do statistics. You can just do whatever you want because you just need permissions for that, and you need your code to do the logic that you want. So that's it, guys. If you enjoyed the video, I hope you enjoyed. It was really fun to make this set of tutorials for you, and I hope you learned something in these 5 sessions of videos. So stay safe, guys. Keep well, and I'll see you in some other tutorials. Hope you enjoyed. Goodbye.